Megan, hey, how are ya? Hi,
Hey,
Jen.
Stepper Doodle. Hey, Jen.
Hey girls, how's it
Hey, welcome,
going?
We are
welcome,
so
welcome.
excited to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, for everybody who's watching, let me read Jen's bio and let's get this party started. So, today on Barn Besties, we have Jennifer Truett. She is a highly sought after clinician, coach, and USDF FEI certified trainer. That's a big deal, people. I just want to say. Since 2006, she and her husband Lenny have owned and operated Dancing Horse Farm in Lebanon, Ohio, beginning her career with quarter horses before moving into eventing. Jen discovered a passion for dressage that led her to train two horses, Lafayette HQ and Absolute Dream, from the ground up to Grand Prix level. Her competitive achievements include winning back-to-back USDF Finals in 2022, which was at I1, and 2023 at I2. She has earned her USDF gold, silver, and bronze medals with distinction, as well as all three freestyle bars on self-trained horses, and received the USDF Diamond Achievement Award. Jen's training philosophy focuses on creating a learning environment free from discomfort, fear, and stress. Her holistic approach integrates horse and rider biomechanics, informed by over a decade of study with Mary Wanless, a degree in psychology, and expertise in saddle, bridle, and bit fitting. To ensure optimal care, Jen collaborates with a global team of experts to support the education and welfare of her clients and her horses. Driven by commitment to wellness, Jen and Lenny have founded Savvy Horse Products. The company specializes in high end equipment, including the Savvy Feeder, which is manufactured on their farm to facilitate natural slow feeding. Savvy Horse Products are also an exclusive U.S. distributor of VetOflex colic recovery belts and select distributor for Ride Equestrian safety stirrups. And you're coming to the Midwest Horse Fair.
Yay! I'm so
This
excited.
this is so exciting. I can't wait to see you in action. And it looks like I have it up here. You have 6 topics for your clinics, and they are going to be an hour each. Should we talk about them now or should we talk about them later?
Yeah, let's talk about them now.
Okay. Topic number 1, bend and straightness. Who are you looking for? Who do you want in your clinic?
Anyone.
Anyone.
So every horse is crooked in some way, just like people. So we all have our asymmetries from injuries, how we're right-handed or left-handed. Horses are the same way. And so it can benefit any horse. It doesn't matter if it's a gaited horse, if it's a Western horse, English horse, dressage. It's bend versus straightness. Basically, what I typically do in this lecture or seminar is I point out all the different asymmetries in the horses, and then I give each horse and rider different movements to do and exercises to start to work toward more symmetry, and very specific to each horse. So it's good for everyone.
Then we have topic number 2, whoa, go, and turn.
Again, everyone can benefit from whoa, go, and turn. And, it's so interesting. I've taught at Equine Fair now a couple of times, and it's great. I've had like horses that are 4th Pre-St. George horses in this seminar. I've had training level intro horses, and there's always work that can be done on improving your halt, your ability to rein back, steering, and going. Most horses and riders are very complacent. They get very happy with whatever their contract is for however forward or however quick they respond to the aids. And I really enjoy helping them refine their aids and get more out of the horse and talk with more clarity, the communication more clear, so that the rider and the horse are much more on the same page. Because so many times we see riders either being zoomed off with no brakes, and then we also will see riders kicking and spurring and go, please go. And so it's fun for me to have those very different horses and riders in the same seminar. So it's great to be able to show that we can improve everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. There's something that can be improved upon.
That's awesome. I hope I'm never on the one that's going. I love whoa.
You can ask anybody. My horses are very hot, so I have to work on the whoa a lot.
So for topic number 3, we have developing collection.
So developing collection is really fun because I spend quite a bit of time explaining what collection is, where it comes from, and its difference from slow. Because a lot of people think of collection as being, not covering much ground, but all the things that go into developing collection make it so that it's impossible to actually get without power. So you have to have go in order to have collection, and you have to be able to restabilize and rebalance the horse in a way that your whoa aids don't just stop the forward momentum. Instead, you have to change the trajectory of the energy to find collection. So that again is also a clinic that is really appropriate for a lot of different horses and riders. I've had horses and riders that go through those 3, and it's kind of fun to watch doing all 3, the progression, and seeing what we have at the end of those 3 clinics.
Oh, that would be a blast. Like I said, I can't wait to watch. Topic number 4, mechanics of riding trot.
Rising trot mechanic is something that's so often overlooked because basically you can sort of get away with just standing and sitting. But the way that I teach it is it is how you influence the horse's stride. So if you don't get all the way to the top of the rise, to the top of the balance point, you're actually stopping the horse's forward propulsion over the ground, because when you're in the sit phase, sitting down in the saddle, and then you go to the top of the rise, that span of time is actually when the horse is airborne. And they have a diagonal pair of feet on the ground when you're at the top of the rise and when you're sitting. So if you only go a little bit, like if you think about a hunter rider that just goes a little bit out, and then maybe they don't always sit all the way down because they stay in a light seat, they really aren't able to lift and propel the horse over the ground. But if you're and if you think about, let's say, a dressage rider who is more controlling their posting mechanic and getting more to the top of the rise, but they're not using their core strength at the top of the rise, that's a moment that the horse can fall on the forehand and start zooming off if it's a go-y horse. So we do a lot in that clinic on teaching riders to either put energy into the horse for the horse that needs to go, or rock the horse back when you're at the top of the rise, the pause at the top of the rise. And I go all the way to teaching horses passage and rising trot, because I can so control how much power I put in versus how much vertical dynamic I put into the horse. So it's a super fun topic to talk about, and something that anybody can do. And it's pretty interesting when people finally discover where the balance point is at the top of the rise and what it feels like to be there. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so high up. This is so far forward. This can't possibly be right. And then they start to feel the improvement in the horse. And it's pretty exciting to see that happen.
And for your clinics, should only dressage riders sign up? Like, what if they have Western tack on? Can they come?
Totally. Yep.
Cool.
I have students at home that I have a few over the years that do Western dressage, and since I grew up showing Western on quarter horses, it's totally my comfort zone to have Western riders in there. So yeah, absolutely. This rising trot mechanic might be hard on a gaited horse that doesn't trot. So the horse probably needs to trot to be able to work on this. But you can also rise the canter, which I find to be very fun. And I always start this work in the walk anyway. So even if you're just a walk trot rider, you totally are welcome to come and join, and you will benefit from this kind of lecture and symposium.
So are you looking for the same riders in all 4 of these clinic seminars at the horse fair, or?
We can have the same ones. We can have different ones. I've had riders pop in and out in like at Equina Fair. So yeah, it's totally up to them, but they would be welcome. I mean, in each one of these seminars, they're going to get something out of it. So if one person does all 6 total, they're going to come away with a whole lot of information for sure. So yeah.
What if you're like a trail rider or somebody who's only got a few years? I guess the concern might be like some of this might be a little bit more advanced, like the collection might be more than they're capable. So they can apply. How do they apply? Is this through Midwest Horse Fair's website?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On the Midwest Horse Fair website, they can apply. So yeah, even if they come in and they only trail ride, if you are going to go down the side of a hill, you're going to need to collect your horse, right? If you're going to set up to go into a river, you're not going to go speeding into a river. So there's use for all of this. And the more balanced the rider is over the horse, like in the rider biomechanics focused ones, the easier the job is for the horse, and the easier it is on the rider's body and their joints. So really anyone is welcome to participate.
And there are still 2 more demos that you're doing. It's called the ride stirrup demonstration, and the number 6 one is self carriage. Is it just for horses? So you actually have a total of 6.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised when they gave me 6. I said, okay, 6 topics. Okay. So let's talk about the self carriage one. I talk to my riders all the time and at home and at clinics about self-carriage. Rider self-carriage is just as important as horse self-carriage. You know, we don't hear about it very often, but so many riders are being pulled along like they're a water skiing pulled by a speedboat. And the rider needs to be up there and complete independent self-carriage from the horse and able to withstand the momentum and forces against their own body from the horse moving forward or sideways suddenly. And so the rider has to be quite strong in their core, but also limber enough and gymnasticized enough that they can withstand all the things that horses can do. And so I do a lot of work on making sure that the rider is independent from the reins. You know, you hear about the independent seat and hands. So the seat has to be independent from the hands, but the hands have to be independent from the horse too. So that you could apply an aid, you could apply some pressure, but then you could also back it off and just give. And can you give and give both reins and the horse not fall apart? And if the horse falls apart, they lose their balance. Well, then they were balancing on the rider. So that I think it's a very important topic that doesn't get discussed in such a black and white way very often. So it's one of my favorites to talk about. And then the ride stirrup demo is we sell through my Savvy Horse Products company these safety stirrups that are the only stirrups on the market. They just came to market last year. They're amazing. They've got $5 million of R&D behind them. And they are the only stirrups on the market that have 3-dimensional adjustability. So they are the first stirrups that you can adjust to accommodate the rider's conformation. So let's say a rider, all of us are injured. We've all come off horses. Many of us have had knee replacements, hip replacements. We have pain here, pain there, back problems, all of that. And we all are stuck in stirrups that are just a basic shape. And that's very last year. It's not this year. So now we have this ability to adjust in 3 dimensions a stirrup so that it actually balances the rider's ball of their foot underneath their hip, so that the vertical alignment that riders need in order to keep their neutral spine and to have the ear, shoulder, hip, heel alignment is now completely possible. And it actually stops lower legs from swinging from shaking. Like you watch so many riders coming towards you or going away from you in rising trot, and you see those legs swinging out. It is actually because they're not equally weighting the outside, inside, front to back of the stirrup plate, the foot plate. And I know that now. I did not know that before. So all of this research has been done on what it takes for to balance a rider's foot in motion on a horse. And so these stirrups are so unique in that they have a very wide foot plate. It's like that wide, and it's concave for you to be able to put your whole ball of your foot in the stirrup. So it's actually a different foot placement as well. We all grew up being taught to put the stirrup underneath where the end of our toes and the front of the ball of the foot meet. And that doesn't give you the stability that you have when you stand on the ground. So if you stand on the ground, you're standing on the ball of your foot and your toes can move independently. But if you're standing on the stirrup and your toes are stuck on the front of the stirrup, your toes can't move independently. So we can adjust the stirrup so that we adjust it forward, back, left, right, and slide it side to side and this way. So the riders whose feet turn out, and we trainers are going, turn your feet in, make your feet parallel to the horse's sides. And then the rider winds up getting into all these compensations up their leg, and it hurts their knees, and they're pinching with their knees, or they're perching out of the saddle because they're trying so hard with their upper adductor muscles. The stirrup fixes that, because now you can set the stirrup so that the rider's foot is at this angle, and then the rider is able to be balanced over that angle because it matches their foot. And that enables them to start to be able to stand and sit down and deeper in the saddle without having to have all these compensations. And it's incredible. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is they're safety stirrups. They're the only stirrup on the market. The outside branch moves away 360 degrees. There is no upright. There's nothing to get hung up on. And the majority of the safety stirrups out there, they still have something a little tiny upright, like once the branch moves out of the way. This one, the branch actually rotates from any pressure in any direction. So your foot is never going to get stuck. And it'll break away as well. So it's the only one on the market that does that. I see somebody asking if they're USDF legal. It's actually USEF legal, not DF. And yes, they are with the gap closure. So the United States and Poland are the only two countries in the world that says that they are not legal because they have a small gap at the top. And we actually have designed a gap. Well, Ride has designed a gap closure, and we are having them made here in Ohio. Well, in Ohio, I'm down in Ocala right now. And the gap closure fixes the problem, but they are FEI legal. So they're legal everywhere in the world except for USEF and Poland. But we have the fix, the gap closure. We give that free with a stirrup purchase. So if you guys want, give me 2 seconds. I'll go grab a pair and show you. Yeah? All right. Hang on.
That's
you can
great.
talk to my Pyretta Fufu.
All right. We like little kitty cats. Well, that's interesting.
Let's quick, just so we don't forget, everyone who is interested in riding with Jen, please go to the Midwest Horse Fair website at the top in the little bar. It says what is it? Clinics or participation. Hit that, go down, and you'll see where you actually apply on the Midwest Horse Fair website. And it will have all 6 different clinics. You need to include a riding video. I think it's under 5 minutes. It includes all your information. And so that way you can sign up to ride with Jen at the Midwest Horse Fair, which I believe is April 17th, 18th, and 19th.
You are correct on your dates, Megan. Good job.
I got to get it right. You got to check me. I'm a wild woman. What do you got?
All right. So this is the Ride stirrup. Now this is set for a client because I'm about to deliver it. That is the emergency release. Do you see that? There is nothing that stops your foot, your spur strap, your clothes. There's nothing there. and it just snaps back. It is, so like I said, $5 million and like 3 years of research has gone into this. So one of the owners of the company does BMX bike racing. And he was like, why do you guys have stirrups that have a closed top and it keeps all your dirt in? Why don't you just have an open bottom to your stirrup so your dirt falls out? And they were like, well, that's a really good idea. So if you can see, there's a slight concavity to the foot plate, right? And it's wider on the inside than the outside, where your big toe goes on the inside. So you put the whole ball of your foot in here. It has all these little, they're like little screw or bolts that are in here that gives you traction. Everything about this is replaceable. So if these wear down, you just screw new ones in. When this comes off in an emergency and it winds up breaking, it's just a thin little piece of aluminum here. They come with the spare parts. So the adjustability is, you can see that this bar is sticking out the back. So right now I have this adjusted so that the foot plate is going to give this rider support, and it's giving her support. This is the left one. So it's going to hang like this. So I'm giving her more support at the back because she's a rider who comes from the hunter jumper world and jams her heel down. So she has no contact under the front of her foot. So what this does, it actually counterbalances her foot. So it helps lift the heel up so that she can find a more neutral place for her foot and unlock her ankle. So that's number one adjustment. And it also goes the other way. So when you have riders who slide through the stirrup or they stand on their toes, you would just adjust it this way so that you can give the front of the ball of the foot more support and help encourage them to drop down into the back of the stirrup. So that is the first adjustment. The next adjustment is the top here. And if you see that each adjustment is a millimeter. So 0 is neutral. So that is 0. That is where a normal stirrup would be hanging from. And you see how far off kilter I have set this stirrup. So what that adjustment does is, if you guys, next time you guys get in a saddle, put your foot in your stirrup or even just look at your stirrups hanging when you turn them so that your foot would go in. Do they hang on an angle like this? Or do they hang straight? So that's a question to ask. So you can see this stirrup is hanging at this point where just how I'm holding it, it's hanging straight. If I hold it here, it's going to hang on a little bit of an angle. So most people have more pressure on the pinky toe side of the foot rather than the big toe side, because the stirrups hang like this, just because somebody at some point in time decided that stirrups should hang from the middle of the top instead of off kilter, right? So then the last adjustment is this top piece where we know the stirrup leather goes through. So you can see that piece has little numbers as well. So the 0 is just set so that it's perpendicular to the top. And this piece is set for the way that the rider's foot hangs beside the horse. So when you have a rider, like this is the horse, if you have the rider who their feet stick out like that, I put the stirrup so that they have equal support across the ball of their foot. And then they don't wind up swinging their feet out as they stand up, because remember, they would normally have had more pressure on the pinky toe side than the big toe side, right? So then as they stand up, their feet, the stirrup swings out like that, because it's basically a pendulum hanging off of the stirrup bar, right? So this stirrup is set for this rider's left leg to be like this. So I'm holding this part where the stirrup leather comes down perpendicular. That's how much angle her foot is away from the horse. Now, the cool thing is these stirrups are a right and a left, because people have 2 different legs, right? So her other stirrup doesn't look like this. The settings don't look like this, right? So, I have my bad left ankle. So my left stirrup is all kinds of weird like this. Not that she's weird, but she's normal. She's got one leg different than another. And then my right stirrup is much more like closer to zeros. And the interesting thing is, you'll find over time as you use these stirrups that you start to get, you start noticing the stirrups again. So when people first get in these stirrups, they're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I don't even think about my stirrups and I feel so confident because like my feet are underneath my hips and I can do anything I want to do. And it actually causes them to relax. So when I've had multiple riders who are more nervous riders that all of a sudden they stop being so nervous because all of a sudden they're stable in the saddle and they can feel 2 seat bones down in the saddle and they have 2 legs hanging with support from their stirrups now. So when all of a sudden you start noticing your stirrup or stirrups, it's time to make an adjustment because your body has started adjusting to where we've set the stirrups for whatever the asymmetry was. And it may be 2 weeks, it might be a month, it might be 2 days. It's time to make a little bit of a tweak. And the more that you ride in them and you tweak them, the more normal or ideal riders' legs become. Because now
I don't know about you, but I lost Jen. Did you lose Jen, Megan?
I did too. I thought it was me.
I'm like, wonder if the kitty cat got in there. Okay,
she's over in the potty box, so she doesn't get blamed for that one.
Okay, we were worried. Hey, before you keep going into it, we've had a question. People want to know what the website is to look at these stirrups.
Oh, so my website is savvyhorseproducts.com.
And I have a question. So at Midwest Horse Fair, because this is the topic, do we get to try the stirrups?
Yes.
Well,
yeah, that's why I was like, you're going to give me 6 things, then 6 times I'm going to do stirrup testing. So it is so cool. It is so much fun because you get in the saddle and even with them just set up to 0, everybody 100% of the time has gotten in the saddle and gone, whoa. If it was only just the concavity of that is enough to make people go, whoa, just that feel. And then of course, knowing that this will completely release, like that's just amazing to have in your head. But then I started adjusting them and, people are like that. I'm sold. I had somebody say to me the other day, are they $1,500? Because I would pay that. Oh, wow. No, that's a lot of money. But yeah, and they're aluminum. So they come in silver, just plain aluminum color, or this black. And the black is powder coated. So it's pretty rugged. And it just they come with a little key. And you and your friend can adjust them, and it's just super fun. I do also fittings virtually as well, and I'll do lots of fittings. And I have a booth set up over there too, where we'll have our products, and I'm happy to do fittings. We have a saddle set up in the booth as well.
What do the hunter jumper people say? What do they think?
I love them. Yeah, down in Wellington, we have some of the international riders riding in them. Actually, quite a few international riders riding in them. And I have a hunter jumper barn that's starting to use them back home. And I just have only been here 2 weeks where I am, but there's a lot of hunter jumpers here. So we finally are settled in enough that I'm just going to start walking around with my stirrups in my hands going, please try these. I want to try these. But I am excited though, too, because even just this afternoon, I talked with an endurance rider. She's going to test them out for me. And she's an FEI competing endurance rider. So I think they could be just game changing for endurance riders too, if you think about how long they are just in their saddles and in their stirrups. So very exciting.
That is so cool. Now I want to ride in them.
I could virtually fit you, sweetie.
Horse fair people, horse fair.
Yeah.
Let's take
what
a step
colors?
back and
No,
learn
wait a
about.
minute. Do they only come in black?
right now, because they're Swedish and they're conservative. I've told them we want colors. And my initial suggestion was like this silver bit here. Let's at least just get that in colors, because that, I'd be teal. So
What?
yeah, I know. Shocking, right?
Shocking!
I know. It's surprising I'm not wearing teal right now, in fact. But
I see on your website there's a choice though with black and silver.
Yeah, the silver is the aluminum, the plain aluminum without the paint on it, and then the black is the powder coated. But they are coming out with colors in the future, maybe next year. Not fast enough for me though. So I do have a student who did spray paint hers, and she's very happy. They're like pink. She loves them, and they're pink.
That is awesome. Well, let's take a step back and go, how did you even get involved in horses? Tell us your beginnings.
My beginnings. So I have no memories without horses. So my mom grew up in Virginia and had a horse on her parents' cattle farm. And when she was a teenager, she started teaching forward seat. Back then there was forward seat riding. And then she and my dad got married, moved to Ohio, and had a horse. And we got a farm when I was 5, and I got a horse right away. And I just grew up on the back of a horse, basically. I grew up in 4-H, love 4-H. I started doing pony club when I started eventing, and I think I was 15 when I evented. And so I did pony club, and back then, unfortunately, they didn't focus on dressage. They only did eventing, and my thoroughbred was not so keen on cross country. So we got to like training level, but he was really good with dressage, and that was much more fun than landing in the middle of cross country fences because he didn't want to do it. So I quickly changed over to dressage and then stayed with it since then. But I was training horses through college and grad school, and then I got a real job and actually started my own companies and worked in the criminal justice system. I developed software that was the first of its kind, tracking domestic violences from initial incident through final prosecution. And that was before the internet. So sold it to police departments and prosecutors' offices all over the place. And then it was picked up by the Air Force. And I had to figure out how to put it on the Air Force's ZipperNet. And from there, got partnered with another company that basically took over my company, and then got to go with my husband. We moved to DC from Ohio, and I got to do lobbying work on Capitol Hill. So I've had like a really interesting life. And all the while once I got married, I became an amateur rider again and just had my own horses. And then when the time was right, I always said to the guys that owned the company, hey, when I figure out how to do this horse stuff like a real business and not a mom and pop, backyard thing, I'm out of here. And so we moved back to Ohio and bought our farm, and that was 2006. So here I am, still doing it.
Is there a horse that really shaped you? And can you tell us about?
Absolutely. That was Taffy, Lafayette HQ. I got him direct from the breeder. He actually had fractured his left hind cannon bone, getting stuck in the tongue of a manure spreader in the barn aisle because he let himself out. And the tractor and the manure spreader were sitting in the barn aisle, and he just ping-ponged himself the way that he always did. And he put his leg down in there, and they had to use an acetylene torch to get him out. And I had just had to put down my heart horse. She developed laminitis after Potomac horse fever. For no matter how many times she'd been vaccinated, it just didn't matter. She wound up with Potomac horse fever, and he wound up being $1 because he was that, or he was going to be put down, because when he got to me, the breeder assumed that he was lame, but didn't know how lame. And he was really lame, and he was really crazy. He was not trusting, had no confidence. And my heart was just broken, and I needed someone to really put my heart and soul into. So I rehabbed him for as long as it took. And it took about 1.5 years to get him to the point where he could actually step equally behind. And he was basically walk, trot, canter, but run into walls to stop, and was the worst bolter I've ever ridden. I never had a horse bolt like this horse. And he would bolt with no warning. And I can remember one day riding with Heather Blitz at that time, and somebody walked into the arena and said door and waited. And I said door, okay, back. And he bolted from one end of the arena to the other. And then all I could do was circles, and he was almost falling down. And she said to me, make him run faster. And I was like, what? No way. And that's what fixed it. Taking over the bolt. I had never heard that before, but owning the bolt is what fixed it. So from there, I was able to get him all the way to Grand Prix, and I'd never done it before. I didn't know what I was doing, had a lot of help along the way. And he's really the one who made me very interested in biomechanics of the horse and rider, because his biomechanics were so messed up because he broke his leg when he was 4, and I got him at 7. So he'd be standing around with this fractured leg for 3 years. So yeah, and he was my first real puzzle horse. And so one of the lectures that I do is with my my veterinarian at home, who's a sports vet, and we talk about solving horse puzzles, one horse at a time. And we've done a lot of sport horse cases where nobody else can figure out what's going on, and between me with my riding and biomechanics, and him with the work that he does, that work that he does in diagnostics, it's an amazing team. So that's another side that I really enjoy to, what I do. I don't just train. It's the holistic side is, I do a lot with saddle and bridle fit, and with, making sure that the rider is supported and comfortable and has everything that they need physically. Like I get riders off horses, and we do a lot of on the ground work and that kind of thing. So I don't even remember what your original conversation topic was. I can just blah, blah, blah about anything. You just give me a topic and I'll go.
I think she was asking you your background.
Right? Oh, my background.
The horses.
Lots of horses. Yeah. Taffy was definitely the one that made it, though. He healed my broken heart and gave me so much knowledge over the years that, he's still retired in my barn. He's 24 years old. His whole face is gray. He's adorable. He still has his Grand Prix neck. Like, he's just gorgeous. And he's happily at home getting cookies from anybody who will look at him when he smiles with his snaggletooth smile. But my proudest moment was riding down the center line in finals with him in the Grand Prix freestyle, and having just put in an amazing test, and just tearing up, going, it's amazing that he ever did anything. I mean, I didn't expect him to do anything. He was just going to be a little project that maybe I could get him sound enough and sane enough that somebody might be able to have fun with him. So I had no idea he was going to do what he did.
How bad was the fracture? Because that's impressive for, a cannon fracture.
Yeah, it was a longitudinal.
Oh,
it's
wow.
A longitudinal, 4-inch long fracture. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So he had a tremendous amount of laid on bone over top of it. And he also had quite a lot of damage to the muscle and fascia, his hamstrings. He had holes in his hip where the muscle was just detached. The muscle protruded out on the hamstring where the fascia was just split. And he did eventually wind up with a major hamstring tear too, over time. And he came back and went back to Grand Prix after that too. And that was from the scar tissue that had built up. And in fact, he was better after going through that, because the damage to the damage that happened was actually tearing the scar tissue. So when he remodeled through all the rehab and the lasering and everything we did, the taping, he remodeled with more elasticity. So he came back and competed like 3 more years in the Grand Prix, and I'd retired him at 18. So it's amazing.
That is amazing. I love stories like that. That's like
too.
my Grand Prix horse AJ. He should have been dead 3 times. He tried to die, and to be
Really?
Yeah, he did. And
Wow.
he actually colicked and had colic surgery, and like it was I hate to say it, but the vet actually said it was probably one of the best things because he lost all muscling. He came back like a bag of bones.
Yeah.
And then I could rebuild him. I knew him inside and out, and he was way more symmetrical, and it was just such an amazing experience. And I too, 2 years ago, was crying when I knew it was my last up center line, and he did everything, and I was like, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
So I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
What do you think is a common training mistake that you see with riders throughout all your clinics that you would like to help change?
That's interesting. Being too handsy, being too involved. We're as humans, we do everything with our hands. We talk with our hands. Clearly, I'm doing this. We feed ourselves, we reach forward, we grab things, and we just have got to learn how to not do that with horses, because our hands are attached to their mouth, and that's where their tongue is and their teeth, and it's so sensitive. And so I do a lot of interesting things in my training just because I think of my background. I'm really open to trying lots of things. So my current Grand Prix horse, who's also gone through 2 back-to-back colic surgeries 7 days apart, 2 Augusts ago, and came back and went back into the Grand Prix again. So I had no idea your horse did that. So yeah, that's a whole nother story. The farrier walked in today and said, "Oh, he's a standing vet bill in the cross ties." And I'm like, yes, that is a vet bill right there. But like I can do ones and piaffe with no reins on a neck ring on him. I do a lot of training in a hackamore, bitless things. And I have students ride in these things because, to me, I have a little bit of a problem with the not being willing to show without a bit, because of our rules from centuries ago saying that dressage is acceptance of the bit, of contact. I think it's acceptance of balance and rebalancing. And I think that we really should look at, especially in our current situation with social media and what it is, and blue tongues, and who has what bits we're using and blah blah blah, that it should be, I should be able to ride a horse without having to have a lot of metal in their mouth. Now, can I always? No, because these horses come to you having been in all, whoever's hands, and whoever maybe didn't bring them up the way that, you might have. So they have hard mouths, or they have overdeveloped undernecks, or they have underdeveloped top lines, or, they're overdeveloped in their shoulders and they pull themselves over the ground. And so then it's a really big effort to retrain all of the muscles and then the habits and patterns, which takes 10,000 repetitions or 10,000 hours. Either way you look at it, a long time to redo that. And then you have to also train the riders. So if there was a way that we could say riders don't get to touch a bit, like the Spanish riding school, until they have an independent seat and hands, that would be amazing. Or a neck ring, or a bitless bridle. I don't care which type you would like. I just think that it's really important for riders to learn how to balance themselves on top of a horse. So lunge line lessons, all of that, because riders aren't handsy on horses because they want to be. They are because that's the first thing that their brain, the unconscious brain, goes to put control into the situation, especially if something scary has just happened. So what if riders actually learned seat aids and horses were able to be rebalanced on their seat? My horses do. My students' horses do. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have to be strong sometimes, or my students have to be strong sometimes. But when you're strong, you also have to then be soft and releasing immediately so that the horse finds their own balance again, as does the rider. So somebody's asking, what's your number one tip to be less handsy? I just listed a bunch of them. So like using your seat. Can you stop your horse in the walk just from your seat? Can you stop them in the trot? Can you slow them down from your seat? Can you grab a hold of the saddle with everything about your energy and just your intention and pull back? Can you pull back in your pelvis? Does that slow, you're sitting on the saddle that's girthed onto the horse that's attached to them. You should be able to slow them down just from your seat. And then if you can't, then use your hand a little bit and say, hey, I'm talking to you, because maybe they've never felt that before. So yeah, it's really important, I think, for riders to learn how to be independent and not handsy.
I totally agree. I have another training question. What's something you don't rush in training, no matter the pressure from a client, showing, any of it? Showing.
Yeah. I'm always saying, you don't have to show this. And we are not a barn. My team, we call ourselves Team Dream. So we are not a barn that prioritizes showing over training or confidence building or whatever. So, people are ready to show when they're ready to show. And I ask people, I have people go to shows and they are so stressed out about being at a show. It's like, well, why are you at the show? Don't show.
Oh,
you don't need to show.
Say it again for the people in the back.
This is your hobby. Oh. Why stress yourself out going to a show if you don't like it? You should only do things that you like. So, enjoy your horse. Enjoy your time with your horse. If that's going to a clinic or going, we're here, so we're in Ocala, so we have lots of places we can go. So we're going to take a bunch of the horses and go and, go to WEC. One of my students just did what a great idea she had. There's a hunter jumper show going on at WEC, like all the time. She just paid a haul-in fee to take her dressage horse to go and hang out in the rings at WEC in the hunter jumper stuff, just so that the horse sees, all of this activity. What a great idea. And walks around WEC. And we can't really do that with dressage shows because it's too expensive to bring a non-compete horse to a dressage show. I had never thought of that. I thought, well, that is just brilliant. So
did she tell you, like, do you know what the difference, the cost difference was? What it was?
$55.
Wow.
It was $55
for the
to
day.
show up for the day and walk around and ride in the rings with everybody else. Yeah, $55.
That's amazing. It's $750 to go to Lamplight. So my coach is from California, so I want to get a lesson. And like at a normal recognized show, obviously it's not the festival. It's about $200. I mean, forget the hotel and all of that. Sign me up.
Oh, I know. I'm right there with you. It's ridiculous to me how expensive our shows have gotten. I mean, we don't do a hotel. We stay in our living quarters with, of course, our friends, our little furries. But we're $1,000, and I show 2 classes. Usually I'll do the Grand Prix and then the freestyle, like not the next day. I'll take a day off and then the freestyle. $1,000. It's insane. And she just spent $55 and the horse went in the ring and, not the show ring, but the warm-up rings, got a super experience. And you can't do that as a non-compete. You still have to pay all the fees, all the everything to go and be a non-compete at a dressage show. So that's brilliant.
So Jen, do you have school horses that people can come and take lessons with you?
I don't anymore. That's something we used to do. We used to have them, but I focus mostly on, the people who have their own horses. I have a lot of people who come in for intensive training boot camps, and we have camper hookups, and we have a lot of fun. I've joked over the years, I'm building a commune at my farm of all my best friends. So I have people who are from around the country who live at my farm, and they live in their camper or their living quarters trailer, and they have their horses in training, and we just have a blast, and we go around to shows, and we come to Florida and that kind of thing. So people come in from all over and do boot camps, but with their horses. Because it wasn't easy for me. I had it as a riding school, so it was a lot of work because I wound up struggling getting enough help to teach all of the levels. So Megan, I'm sure you understand that since you have that kind of program. And yeah.
I just had an instructor leave. Yes, I do. I know exactly. And then plus you also have all the expenses of maintaining and all of that. And so that leads into my next question.
Yeah.
Because I'm always going back and forth, like, should I get a real job, right? Like, I hate that comment. I hate that comment because I'm like, it takes 5 people for me to leave. So, no. But, like, you've been in the corporate workforce, and you've started your own businesses, and now you're in a horse business. Do you treat your horse business the same as running a business? Did you have a business plan? Like, do you find your approach different than other horse trainers? And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we definitely have a business plan. We started with a business plan. We have developed, the business has really changed over the years. And we started the side gig, Savvy Horse Products, to help support the farm because it's so expensive to have horses, as you know. But we do everything by the books. Like my husband has a top secret clearance, so we can't do anything under the table. We don't cut corners. There are many places I know of that feed that pay people under the table, and we can't have illegal workers. We have to have everything on the up and up, and so that costs more money to do it that way. But we also have long timers in terms of like our staff. We've got a really good staff. We probably have the best staff right now that we've ever had. Our farm manager, Justin, does an amazing job. He's been with us for going on 4 years now, and his staff really like and respect him, and they like working for him. In fact, people were calling in on Christmas going, would you like help today? And because he was just planning on he usually does it in his pajamas all on his own. He just like floats around the barn and just enjoys it. And he was like, sure, come on in and help. So, that's a level of respect and just appreciation, I feel like, that the staff have for the management there. And I have heard that the rumor is that our farm is very, very well run, professionally run, and that it's known for that in the area, and that people have an expectation when they come to our farm, and it's always clean. The people are always friendly. We have an amazing group of clients. We really do. We have multiple trainers and several judges who are trainers there. And it's just there's a great camaraderie. And I think that when you run the business as a business, those things are all possible. And if you're cutting corners and you're trying to sneak things past, people don't respect you as much, and you wind up having issues. And we don't have that. Our only issue is we cannot possibly charge enough money to cover the expenses that a farm has. And that is a very common issue, because horses are just expensive, as is land and all the buildings and everything that has to go with it. Oh yes, I do virtual consultations for fittings. Yes, absolutely.
Can you explain a little bit more so that people understand?
So what is required for that is the easiest way to do it is if you have two people helping. So you have one person holding the video camera and you are in the saddle with the stirrups, and then you have another person with the key to adjust them. And that makes it the easiest, but we've done it with only one helper, or even a camera on a tripod one time. That just is a lot harder because I've got to be able to see kind of up close and you have to move the camera. But yeah, so basically when somebody's getting set up in stirrups, we put the stirrups on like normal, and I watch the rider walk, trot, canter, posting trot, and go both ways just on a 20-meter circle. It's not complicated. And then I stand next to the person and watch them stand and sit on both legs or from both sides. And I decide which one I want to adjust first. So which one I'm going to have the most impact on first. And I adjust that one so that that leg is stable. And then I go around to the other side and adjust the other one. And then I send them back out and have them do the same thing again, walk, trot, canter. And if there are any other adjustments to make, then I do that then. So yeah, so it usually takes like 30, 45 minutes to do that.
Is it pretty self-explanatory to adjust? Like when you're doing a virtual and you're asking the helper to help adjust, is it easy to figure that out?
Absolutely. They're just little screws. So it's like an Allen wrench key. So it's really very easy. The one thing to keep in mind with it, though, is because they are little screws, it is a mechanical system. So you just have to remember to tighten them, make sure that they're tight. Like if you haven't touched them for a while, you just want to make sure that they're tight. And if they're not, it's not a big deal because they just get a little loose. And then you're sitting in the saddle going, that's a little loose. Or I can feel it just vibrate a little bit, and it's not a problem. You just go back and tighten it again. But I always suggest to people, once they get their settings the way they want, take pictures so that you know exactly where you were the last time, and then you can go back and look at that. And then when you adjust them again, you can see what the change is.
When you showed us your example, I don't know if you still have it nearby, but you mentioned that there's going to be an accessory piece that will make them legal.
Oh yeah, I don't have them here because they actually just got made. But they basically, the gap filler attaches by filling in here, this little hole here. So it slides in there, and it's just like a chunk of plastic, basically, that just closes in that space. So it just it fills up the space. That's all it is. It's so silly that it's a requirement.
And that will make it USDF legal?
They are. In fact, if anybody that is a USDF member got an email in December talking about legal stirrups and not legal stirrups, our stirrups were the first image, the first diagram with the gap closure and saying that they're legal. So, yeah.
So I think that's important. Sorry. Go ahead, Meggers.
Yeah, it is.
I was just going to branch off, and I want to talk about Savvy Horse Products. Tell us, why did you make that decision? Obviously, you just said like money, but is that the only reason you decided to diversify? No,
it's kind of a funny story. So my current horse, Dream, is a crazy athlete and has always been very high energy. So he does everything big. So when he was 6, and he's always like, to feed him, he just wolfs food down. So I wanted to slow down his hay consumption. So because he also wants to be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So he would take his hay net and violently throw it in circles because he'd be so angry that he couldn't, because I had the teeny tiny whole hay net, that he couldn't get enough hay out of it. And he would just be so angry and he would paw at it. And, I'd have it hanging really high up in the air, and he hurt his neck. And so I wound up having to have his neck injected, and we had to do all this therapy on his neck because just spinning this thing around. So I started doing research on, what other options are there out there that because I don't like using hay nets anyway, because they're hung up high, and there's so much research out there that shows how bad that is for horses' necks and backs, because they're designed to eat with their head down. Oh, that's so cool how you guys did that. So I found this product, and it turned out one of my clients actually had one and let me borrow it. And I loved it. What an amazing product this is.
Trust
so
the savvy feeder.
it is this, it's freestanding, and it's filled from the bottom. So you actually flip it over, you fill it from the bottom. So all the oldest hay is on top. They have to eat that first. So you never wind up with dust or mildewy or dirty hay that they're breathing in, like you do in basically any other kind of feeder, a freestanding feeder, a wall feeder, whatever. They're having to breathe in when they exhale. They've got all the chaff and stuff blowing up in their noses. And I had a horse at that time that in my program that had heaves. So, I was very concerned about that. And so we loved the feeder. We contacted the company. It's one woman show. And I ordered several, and she gave me a discount, and I'm like, this is amazing. What are you doing with this? And she had invented it. She said she got the design in a dream. She was trying to come up with a way to fix the issues she had. She was up in North Dakota, and her problem, that's actually one of her horses with the snow there. Her problem was her hay was actually freezing to the ground in the freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing. So one of the design features of the feeder is that it can't get frozen to the ground because there's an air pocket. There's an air channel in it for all of the horses that are being fed outside in the winter. And so we were at a festival one year with Dream. I think we'd probably had the feeders for a couple of years by then. And she contacted us and said, I'm thinking about getting out of the business and just focusing on something else. Would you guys have any interest in taking it on as the sole licensee distributors? And we were like, well, we don't know anything about manufacturing. We have never been, we have no idea. My husband's an engineer. He can fix anything, invent anything. And we were actually in the process of trying to come up with a design when I found this. And we were like, we don't think so, but we're at this horse show. Let us get back to you. And obviously we did end up working it out with her. And so we started with the Savvy Feeder, and we very quickly wound up with one in every single stall. We made it a requirement at our farm that we have to have a Savvy Feeder in every single stall. And we use them in all of our dry lot paddocks, because we wound up saving like $30,000 in 1 year. Yeah. Labor, manure removal, buying hay, all of that. Wasted hay. Our manure pile has very little hay in it, unless we've just had to clear out a hay room or something. We have no hay blowing around. We have very little hay that gets stomped into the ground. My horse Dream likes to make a nest out of hay, and he is the reason for all of our products, actually. But yeah, so that's how we wound up getting into it. It was sort of offered to us on a platter, and we were like, well, that's kind of interesting. We think we can make that work. And so we actually have our manufacturing facility is at the farm. It's one of our barns that used to be where we stored hay. And while I was down here in Florida one winter, Lenny cleared it all out, put in a bunch of lighting, put stall mats, like old stall mats, down on the floor, and we have a CNC router. We have a full staff that works in there assembling the feeders. They are rotationally molded. Originally the facility was in Iowa. Now it's in Indiana, so it's even closer. And so we now are in the manufacturing business. So we basically get the feeders as a box, and we cut the top out, and we cut the bottom, and we attach the grate that gravity drops down. we cut the grate out of the bottom part of the feeder. And so there's very little waste. It's quite green. It's all made here in the US. And like we have a local company that we buy all the hardware from. They're literally the next town over. The spring latches are designed by and made in Iowa by a friend of the woman that owns the patent on the feeders. And yeah, it's all American. So it's pretty cool. And we have them all over the country. In fact, I walked into the tack store this afternoon to talk to them about, did they want to have any interest in having them there? And they were like, the buying manager was like, oh, I know these feeders. These are great. And it's so cool because we have a lot of them down here in Ocala and Wellington. A lot of feeders are here. And we have some in England. We have maybe close to 50 now in Hawaii because of how expensive their hay is to bring over. And they just can't buy enough over there. They love them. And of course, they're sand. So, feeding horses on sand, of course, can lead to endoliths and colic, and the feeder stops that issue. You keep the hay up off the ground, and there's literally very minuscule amount of waste. And yeah, and the horses are constantly entertained because it free rolls. Like if you think about like a cookie ball that people will put in stalls for entertainment for horses, this thing does the same thing. They literally roll it around to move the hay around underneath the grate. And we've had many clients tell us their horses don't settle down in their stalls at a show until they get their feeder in their stall. And then they're like, okay, good. I got my toy. I'm at home. It's pretty amazing.
I see you've got a great size selection, original, narrow, and wide. Can you talk about why somebody might choose one over the other?
Yeah, so they are based on the hay type that you feed. So if you feed a really fine hay, like a brome or like a Bermuda, a peanut hay, something like that, or an orchard, you're probably going to want to feed out of the small or the medium original. If you feed something that's more stocky or rough, like a Mature Timothy or something like that, you would feed out of the large. But you can also slow down feed consumption, hay consumption with a smaller grate. But we don't recommend the small grate for a stemmy kind of hay because it can be hard for the horses to get it out. They've got to still be able to get their mouth around, the pieces of hay to pull it out. And it's all a polymer. It's a medical grade polymer. So there's no metal. Their teeth don't get damaged. They will kind of chew it up a little bit. It's this really heavy but soft plastic. And you can easily like take a Dremel or even a rasp, like a farrier's rasp, and it makes it soft and smooth again. And we have replacement parts, like everything is replaceable. So like there are quite a few horses, when they're rolling it around the spring latch, they might step on the spring latch. It's aluminum, so you can bend it back. But if you can't, if they really smash it, it's $6 or like $8 or something. So like we have a 30-day free grate replacement policy as well. So if you get it and you don't like your horse needs a different size grate for your hay, then we send you the other grate, whichever size you want, and you send it back to us. We also have a 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't like it for whatever reason, you just let us know. All we want are happy horses that are healthy and happy horse owners. So, yeah, and we are just now getting into the retail side as well. So we are starting to talk to places about buying them wholesale and pallets worth. And that's what I'm doing down here in Ocala, which that's really exciting. We've never done that before. So we're just starting to expand into that channel as well for sales. So if anybody has a tack shop or a feed store and they're interested in carrying them, yeah, reach out.
Are you bringing them to Horse Fair? Midwest Horse Fair?
You got it.
Yep. All right. Nice. Okay. So let's see what else we got in here. We did talk earlier about the ride.
Look at that.
So that's on the website as well. Just let everybody know that. And then what do we got next?
The VetoFlex belts.
I want to hear about this.
So Dream, again, thankfully, thank you, Dream, for spending all my money. So he went through back-to-back colic surgery 7 days apart and wound up with a really bad infection in the second surgical line, and wound up having a lot of swelling. And so he came home after almost 4 weeks in intensive care and $50,000. Came home in a hernia belt. And it was a standard, what most places use hernia belt, that is basically a piece of canvas, like a really heavy piece of canvas with like 10 Velcro straps that just go all the way around. And then they use this, it's just a Western saddle pad, like a felt saddle pad. And it is not ergonomic in any way, shape, or form. And he wound up with bloody, awful sores. And he now has white marks all down the back of his withers and to the middle of his spine, or the middle of his back. I even put airbags. I tried everything. I shimmed it. I did everything I could. We treated it, but he had to be wearing it. So after about 2 months, I said, I just can't even put this thing on him anymore. He is so uncomfortable, and he's such a happy guy. And that's Dreamy in that picture up there of me riding him. So I searched the world over, and I found this product made in the Czech Republic. And the interesting thing is, it's a family that they were in the textile industry. They are hunt jumpers. And I think that they just had a horse that colicked, and they came up with a better solution. They made a better mousetrap. And so I ordered one and was blown away by it. It is so well made. Dreamy still wears his at night, every night, just to support his abdominal wall, because he has this lump we've lovingly named George that will never go away. It's just where his abdominal wall wound up being thinned from the infection. And these belts are amazing because they help to keep the area clean. They help if you have to put medicine on. They support the abdominal wall in the healing phase. And I think he would have done a lot better and might not have had such a big George had I had this belt in the beginning instead of the other one that was causing him so many. He's got white hairs everywhere from pressure points from that other belt. It was awful. So this belt only has 3 straps, and it is high compression, the middle section that goes around the belly. And then the front part is like a sweater almost. It's a compression fabric, but like it's kind of designed like a shoulder sleazy that you'd put on underneath a blanket. And it has a zipper up the front so that you can unzip it so that they can walk like on a hot walker, or you can take them to graze, that kind of thing, and they have more shoulder freedom. And then when they're back in the stall, then you just zip it back down again. It's very easy for one person to do, where the CM one with all the straps, it was hard for one person. It was really a 2-person job. So
this is so cool. Is it only used for coming back from surgery, or does it have other benefits?
It has a lot of benefits, actually. We've sold it to a lot of like thoroughbred breeding farms. So a lot of times foals will get venereal hernias. And so it's great for covering any kind of wound. So we had years ago a horse that wound up with a puncture in between 2 ribs, and it had to have a drain, and it had to have medicine, and there was so much edema and swelling. If you think of anything that could happen basically to the horse underneath where this belt is, you can cover and keep it clean, keep flies out of it, keep dirt out of it with this belt. And that was the interesting thing that, we really hadn't considered until we walked around with it and talked to different vet hospitals and clinics at Equine Fair, and just said, how would you use this in your practice? And people were like, wow, that would be amazing to have owners have, even if they just rented it from a vet practice for while their horse is dealing with whatever. So they also have the riding belt for when you're rehabbing your performance horse after any kind of surgery or any kind of injury, really. And it's kind of like one of those anti-spur rub belts, except it goes the entire abdominal cavity. And they have one with a hernia pad. So it's just got extra padding at the bottom, or it doesn't have extra padding. If it's just this one is the colic belt. But I used that one to rehab Dream in until he was really starting to do collected work. And then it was hard for him to breathe because he needed to exhale and inhale and move his rib cage so much. And by that point, he didn't need to have that extra support anymore. So we are just starting to put together the campaign to approach vet clinics and hospitals about, possibly white labeling it. How do we get it into the right hands that, somebody can really use it? Like a client like me who is bringing my horse home after surgery, what am I going to do at home, to support my horse? And if a clinic can send a horse home and something like this, it's so much less stressful knowing that you're supporting that abdominal wall and you can keep all the medicine in. It's not easy. It's not easy to keep the medicine on and keep the flies out and keep the shavings out of the incision line, especially when you have an infection and you've got all the goop coming out.
Yeah, this would have been great for me to have. I didn't even get a belt, but my horse was in the hospital for a month. Yeah. But he did have a reaction to the stitches. And so he had I fondly call it the beer gut. For
I know about that.
9 months. Obviously it did eventually go away, but this would have been amazing for him to have.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing to have because product to try to sell, because nobody cares about it until now. In this moment, my horse is in surgery. Now what do I do? Right? It's one of those things you're not going to go, oh, wow, that's interesting. I'll just have that. But we've talked to some people and they're like, that might not be a bad idea for a big barn to have, because it does take time to ship it, right? To get it to you. And, maybe it's not a bad idea to just have one. The normal size is the full size. And so that it's just there if you need it. If you have something that winds up with a need for medicine or a need for some kind of abdominal support, especially like breeding farms. Like this is used very commonly with brood mares who wind up with abdominal edema from the size of the foal, or because the foal is so big that the belly needs more support. So it's often used for that too.
Is there, of all the four here, if you were suggesting to a training facility or a veterinary clinic, any of these, would you say get this one first?
I would say get the hernia belt first, because with the hernia belt, it has the extra padding. It has a pocket for the pad, and the pad provides more support. That's the pocket and the pad. And then if you don't actually need the extra support, then you just don't need to have the pad in there. They also make what's called an up band. So if you think about when a horse has gone through colic surgery and they're in the recovery stall, that's the most vulnerable time for all of those stitches. And so this company has designed this belt that looks a lot like the riding belt, that is specifically for use in the recovery stall, so that as the horse is hopefully not flailing around too much, but as they're getting up, they don't somehow put, a dirty foot, or, they don't touch that area. They don't pop stitches. It just protects the area in that time in the recovery stall. So there's just a lot of things to think about. So like if it's a vet clinic, I'd say that they really should have the hernia belt and the up belt, and they come in different sizes. They even go all the way down to full, pony, any size really is possible, and custom sizes. We've actually designed a quarter horse specific one because quarter horses are so different than other shaped and sized horses. And they don't actually have quarter horses apparently commonly at all in the Czech Republic. So they're pretty cool. Like we should probably design a quarter horse belt because America has a lot of quarter horses. So yeah, and a training program wouldn't need an up belt, and they wouldn't need the riding belt until the horse has already gone through the first 3 months standing in the stable belt. So just to have something on hand, I would say that normal hernia belt, the stable belt, is the way to go to have something there for an emergency.
I think this is such a cool idea. I mean, you think about it, you see horses coming out of surgery, like you said, and they're all like wrapped up in like whatever gauze that wrap padding, and
yeah,
this would be so nice for the veterinarian clinics.
And all of that can be underneath the up belt.
Right.
Yeah. And then when they go back to the stall, then you can replace the up belt with this belt. And they can go and turn out in this belt, like small paddock turnout when they get to first start doing that. I have people who've bought it who do pasture turnout in it. So I have a couple of people who've bought 2 of them so that they always have one to rotate into if they go and they roll in the mud or something in it, because it's just keeping the wound clean. And, if they're still putting dressings on, it's keeping the dressing in place. So, you're just setting yourself up for success when you do something like this, make an investment like this. And you've already spent $25,000, for colic surgery at that point. What's another $898?
Right. So let's say somebody watches this and 2 weeks later their horse ends up in surgery. We've got the shipping in here. Can they call you guys and go, I don't care what it costs, next day air it? And
you got it. Yep, we do that. We do a lot of next day air. Yeah, so our standard shipping is, just ground shipping, but most of the time when people are ordering this, they're overnighting it. So and at the point, like I just said, they've already spent whatever they've spent on the surgery. They're paying for the investment in this quality care through the belt. The $100 or $150 to next day air it is nothing at that point. So we do mostly shipping overnight when it comes to this product anyway.
Well, hopefully people will see, and vet clinics and surgical facilities will learn more about this and get it on hand, because I could definitely see, for me, peace of mind having had a horse's belly split open and being worried about that initial 2 weeks of healing. I'd be absolutely freaking out that they're going to blow their sutures and everything's going to just open up.
Absolutely. Yep. Been there, done that. So yeah.
Will you be bringing this to Midwest Horse Fair as well?
I will. And actually, I would love to have recommendations from you guys and your listeners, your followers, for vet clinics to talk to. Because it doesn't even have to go to surgical centers, right? The normal vets who go and take care of horses at the farm after they've come back from surgery, those vets are the ones that are really going to benefit from this. The surgeons just see the horses while they're there at the hospital. And yes, this is going to help them, and the up belt is going to help them. But it's the vets at home that are dealing with the surgical sites that are now getting infected because the owners aren't able to keep them clean enough, because a barn is a dirty place. And if it's during the summer, insects bring all kinds of issues and complications to surgical sites. So I just need to get contacts and send information to places. And because I think that, for me, the peace of mind was worth every penny.
Yeah.
And overnighting it from the Czech Republic was not cheap. But I got it, and the people, the owners are amazing, and they're super excited about expanding into the U.S. market. So yeah.
Well, we have a wonderful UW vet school, but we also have, I think, 6 surrounding vet practices. So you should definitely bring the belts to the Midwest Horse Fair. Happy to make introductions and connect you. But I was also thinking about, we've had a lady, I believe she was in Kansas, who is a rehabilitation trainer. And I was just thinking all of the rehabilitation centers, like there's a ton here in California that you should also connect to. So
absolutely.
I think
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think they really need your products.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Really, it's interesting. You know, I've focused the products on what is going to improve the lives of horses and their owners. So we're not doing, you know, just the run of the mill, whatever. It's very thoughtful what products we're bringing to market. And it's products that I would, you know, I want the best for my horses. Obviously, I spend so much money on them with vet bills, but you know, these are products that are very exciting. And like, so the nose it treat balls, we're almost out of those now. Those are interesting. They're sold through Dover and Amazon, actually. We were contacted by the lady that started this company, and she was getting out of the business just like the Savvy Feeder was. And these are really well made. And so we've really just been helping her get rid of her inventory with them. I think we're down to only a handful of them left, maybe 20 or so. But the dog toys are super fun. We actually have quite a few of those left. And we've got them priced really, really cheaply just to help her out and her company. So these are always a big hit at Equina Fair. We usually bring a bunch of them. So we'll probably bring whatever's remaining in our inventory to Midwest Horse Fair in the spring.
Have we missed anything, Jen? Is there anything we need to touch on? I think I have maybe one more question. What excites you the most about the future of training? Whether it's for you or for the US, what's exciting?
Now that is a hard question thinking about for the US. For me, let's just talk about me. Because I'm not sure about the US or the world in general. But for me, I love trying different things and figuring out new ways to help horses and riders improve their communication, improve the way that their partnerships. So like the things that I've been playing with all this last summer with like bitless options, like I really think that we need to seriously look at the bitless options that are out there. And it would very much excite me to see that starting to become more of a possibility in maybe even just at the lower levels. I don't care, but if you can ride a Grand Prix horse through a Grand Prix test without a bit in its mouth, I mean, that's impressive, right? That should speak loudly that it does not require a piece of metal in the horse's mouth to do it. I can do it.
I love it because when I was younger, I rode my dressage mare all the time, either bareback in the halter or in a hackamore. Hacked her out in it and would ride her as much as possible in it, and then just switch her lessons to the snaffle. But I loved it. She loved it. She absolutely excelled in it. Just was happy.
I think it's interesting. I kind of created my own version of a 2-rein system for my mare, who wound up with, long story, another tangent, but we discovered that she had a salivary gland on a stalk that was underneath her tongue, way back by the first molar. And the stalk was long enough. It looked like a snail antenna. It was long enough that it was actually getting underneath the bit and smashed. And it explained why my mare, ever since we started her, she would just randomly throw her head up in the air. And all of a sudden one day, we discovered it because she's just on the lunge line on long side reins, and I was just warming her up, and blood starts gushing out of her mouth, like she had just popped a tooth, kind of blood coming out of her mouth. And we looked and looked, couldn't find anything, and then pulled her tongue way up and back, and we found this long thing. And the vet looked at it and said she had to be born with it, and nobody would have ever seen it because it was so far. It was like where the tongue attaches to the bottom palate. So I had to spend like over a month with no bit in her mouth. And when I started bringing her back into riding her with a bit, what I did was I rode in a rope halter bridle for the noseband with the reins attached to the sides. And then I had just a snaffle bit hanging so that I could ride her off of the noseband and then just start to apply a little bit of pressure with the other rein on the snaffle bit when it felt right. And then not do it at all because she had, this PTSD from this thing. And I'm like, well, why can't we have a double bridle like that? Why couldn't we just ride off of a noseband instead of a curb bit? I just because we never have, why should we not talk about it? So that's the kind of stuff excites me. Like what other ways are there for us to do what we want to do and be successful and have happy horses, happy riders, and accomplish the goal of being able to write a test. So, I'm always sort of digging in and trying to find a way to make that possible despite whatever the circumstances are. So I don't know how good an answer to your question that was, how much it excites me, but I like digging into puzzles and trying to figure out how we can better horses' lives through answering those kind of questions.
So we should circle back around and remind everybody you are going to be in Wisconsin in April for Midwest Horse Fair. We have on the screen, let's see if I can do it. There we go, like that. Yep, that's how you sign up. And let's just go through again who you are willing to have in. I mean, if it's not an accomplished dressage rider, I mean, who are you willing to teach? Ages, disciplines. Talk about that.
Western, hunt seat, jumper, dressage. Yeah, it basically anyone who is able to get on a horse and ride a horse. I've had some really cool horses in the clinics at Equine Fair, like so many different breeds and types and kids and adults and everything. So there's a lot to be gained, I think, for any kind of rider, any kind of horse there.
That's fantastic. And again, you guys, there's the link at Midwest Horse Fair's website. Be sure to sign up. You have 6 sessions. Is that correct?
Yep. I'll be talking a lot.
You will. I cannot wait to see you in Madison.
I know.
It's awesome.
I can't wait. I've never been to Madison, so I'm excited.
Oh, do you have
prepared for all weather?
Yeah. Do you have someone who's going to give you some sites when you're not teaching clinics?
Yeah.
At the booth?
Yep. I think so. Yeah. I think I have a place to stay, and we're going to have the whole team come out for the booth. And so I think it'll be really fun.
Oh, it'll be awesome.
Well, thank you. Thousands of people through for the booth. So it's good that you're going to have a number of people there so that people can relax and not, because it's crazy busy, wouldn't you say, Megan?
You better take Monday off. There's a lot of talking. There is 50 to 60,000 people that come. It's a wonderful, wonderful fair. I'm so excited to see dressage represented. Obviously I'm biased. But there's amazing clinicians. I always learn a lot every year. It's wonderful for networking. I think you'll have a blast. I hope you do.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be fun. I was excited to get invited.
Yeah.
Well, Megan, do you have any further questions?
I do not. I think this has been an awesome live stream. I'm so thankful for your time, Jen, learning about all the different products. And I'm really looking forward to April, seeing you in person, seeing you in action. And just want to thank everybody for staying on and watching and asking some really great questions. And I hope they come to your clinics and try your stirrups. Like, hello,
Yeah.
I want to try.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the stirrup demo is going to be super fun because it's amazing to see the changes just from supporting the foot. It's amazing. So
I think
yeah,
I'm gonna sign up tonight.
Good.
My only problem is conflict. So, but
Yeah.
I'll have to twist their arm at Midwest Horse Fair. Maybe they'll help me out.
Good. I'm sure they will. I'm sure you're very influential.
Mm. We're working on it. We're working on it. But Jen, thank you so much. Is there anything that we've forgotten that you'd like to add? Otherwise,
I don't think so. You guys did a great job. You asked me lots and lots of questions, and I blah blahed a lot, which I love doing. So it's all good.
It was wonderful. Steph, you have any questions?
I think we're good for the night. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. And thank you to everybody who joined us in the live chat. Lots of really great questions came out of there. And thank you to Midwest Horse Fair. And, you know, you guys, this live stream is going to be available to watch at any time on YouTube. So share it with your friends, share it far and wide, and encourage people to sign up to come to Midwest Horse Fair and ride in Jen's clinic.
Sounds good. Will do. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.